It's funny. My nephew's got like a PS5, and he said something like, basically, I just play online with a bunch of old men because no kids my age can afford a PS5. So his friend group is a little bit on the older side.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 27 of 2022. I'm Chris Louie, and a very happy Independence Day to our U.S. listeners. In America, July 4th represents the day where America declared its independence from Great Britain, and we said no to taxation without representation, and we no longer have to care about the royal wedding, Prince Harry, or anything else from the UK. With me, I have the hot dad who watched every episode of The Royals on Netflix.
Chris, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. How dare you cast those aspersions my way? I'm actually back from Zenith Live in Las Vegas. It was a good time. Like, my only gripe about the whole thing is like, you know, like I know that the hotel staff is like integral in making like the entire show a success, but they really could have just lost the entire like first responder type of syndrome going on. Like they were doing us some sort of favor. I think COVID's over, guys.
What were they doing? Like stopping you and making you wear a mask as you go from hallway to hallway?
No, like they were acting like they were heroes, man. Like without them, this show cannot go on.
No,
they all had masks
to a certain
True.
extent.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
You'd be upset 5 days later if you had like smear marks still in your toilet, right? You'd be pretty upset about that.
Yeah, it totally would be.
All right, it only took a minute and 30 seconds to go there. All right, and back from his trip across the pond, and amazingly, still not positive for COVID or monkeypox, we have the stateside Glenn Medina. I hope you had fun at dinner last week where you missed the podcast.
I couldn't. Happy to be back. I can't tell you how sad I was to miss it, but the reality is I don't think I would have had a great internet connection. The hotel that I was at their internet connection was really funky inside the rooms, and I would have to set up somewhere in downstairs in the common area, and I think it would have been bad for the podcast as you would have heard so much noise. But happy to be back. Go ahead.
Probably another successful Palo Alto customer over there running things around.
Probably. Anyways, happy to be back. It was a 10+ hour ride there and back. And tell you what, have you guys ever gotten into business class? I got upgraded on the way back, and that was a nice ride back. Being able to lay down fully. Oh my gosh. In one of those pods. I never want to go back.
Yeah.
And fly anything else.
It's hard to go back from that. Yeah, I had it on both legs to Singapore, and it was great. I slept like a baby and ate like a pig.
Yeah, there's only one thing that's probably better than that, and it's flying on a private jet, which I can't say I did at my former company, and that was quite an experience as well. And it's a different type of experience, meaning not the seat choice, but the ability to get to the airport like 5 minutes before the plane takes off. So
yeah, no TSA, no strip search, no magneton giving the double finger to it.
Yeah.
True.
All right, well, this week, our guest is Dan Cybulski from the great nation of Canada. Welcome on, Dan. I think it's been 6 months since we started talking about getting you on the show and been trying to find a time slot to get you on, so we are glad to finally have you on. Dan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, happy to be here. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you about myself, although interesting. Glenn, I want to double back before I keep talking about myself. Have you never had COVID?
Not that I know of. I mean, I've tested
the
last year. I will admit, I think, when it was patient 0 in Seattle was announced, I think like November of 2019, I went and visited Seattle and I got sick and stuck there during a business trip. I think I had to stay an extra day or two at the hotel because my wife would not let me come home because she thought I had COVID.
Oh, awesome. The reason I ask is you're the other guy. You're the only person who I've run into who can say they haven't had it. I haven't had it yet either. So,
Chris,
I haven't had it.
Yeah, happy to be here.
So
oh,
3 out of 4 of
this.
us have not had it. So Brian's in the minority here.
Yeah, Brian is the guy that licks doorknobs and car handles, and that's why he got COVID.
I just give it to me, right? I was like, I want a battle. Like, it was no big deal. But Chris, awesome. He actually wears he double masks. He's in triple vax and wears it to bed.
Yes.
Nice.
Combined, we have decades of information security experience and are here not just to educate, but to entertain. We've got 4 awesome stories for this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. For our Closing the Loop segment this week, Captain America actor Chris Evans tweeted that he just finally gave up his iPhone 6S and is ready to move on to a modern phone, like the iPhone 13. Glenn commonly brags to us and on the show that he used an old school iPhone 8 with the home button up until just a few weeks ago. So that's what both Glenn and Captain America have in common. They were both frozen in a block of ice and used phones appropriate for that era. Enjoy the 10-minute battery life from a full charge.
Well, what do you say? I think we have more than that, right? Both of us are like really in great shape and physique and form. I don't know what you're talking about, Chris.
Yeah, that's America's butt.
You might be a little bit more handsome. I'll give you that.
I'm telling you that. I've got that Asian glow. He doesn't have that.
Yeah, let's see him at 55. Glenn's not 55, everyone.
Had to throw the disclaimer in there.
Yeah. Well, take that back, right? I had the iPhone 8 just recently upgraded because thanks to was it Verizon? They had a $400 buyback program for my iPhone 8. That thing was literally worth like $5. So I'll gladly take $400 on a trade-in. Sorry, Chris.
Good deal.
Do you guys? No, you're not going to move on, Chris. I'm going to keep interrupting you. Do you guys get like the Apple Care on your phones and devices?
Why? It's such a waste of money.
No, I do it, and then I use mine like a hammer. Just like got to stir some soup. Just iPhone 13, baby. You know, where you got this thing going.
You probably don't buy a case. You're the guy that buys the Apple Care but doesn't buy the case for your phone, right?
Yeah. I just spike it like a football.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Yeah.
You know, I actually had a theory that iPhones didn't need a case at one point. This was actually last winter. I said, it's a scam. They're just trying to get you to buy more stuff. And then I went out to shovel snow and it fell out of my pocket and it shattered the entire bloody thing. So you do need a case apparently. So, but I don't have Apple Care.
But you think they made out of glass just so they can get money based off of the repair of that? What is the dumbest thing, right? Let's make a phone out of glass and let's just make it not, foolproof.
You hear that, Apple?
What are you going to make your screen out of then, Glenn? Transparent aluminum?
No, he's going to go diamond encrusted.
I'm talking about the back of the iPhone, right? Where they were making them part of glass. Or a series sets of iPhones were made out of glass all the way around.
Ooh, what if it was made out of marshmallows? Yeah. That'd be amazing.
Cool.
Yeah, they have those pillow cases, like the cases with the pillow on the back. But again, it requires a case. They could just build a pillow in on the back of the phone. All right, now I'm going to move on. Our second piece of Closing the Loop feedback. I just wanted to quickly mention that it has been 5 years since the most destructive ransomware attack in history, NotPetya. I think we can all probably remember where we were when that attack hit.
Making me feel
older. Yeah, I know. Gosh,
5 years. That's amazing, huh? 5 years since WannaCry, 5 years since NotPetya.
Do you think those companies are still exposed to NotPetya? Do you think they've really patched everything and moved away from getting hacked?
Well, I can guarantee it. They all closed or disabled SMBV1. So
you can. They scanned the internet
in
and
5 years. In 5 years, they turned that off and patched it. They patched Eternal Blue. But I'm sure there's something else. There's some SSL VPN vulnerability. There's some Apache struts. There's some Java framework that's still vulnerable. So, the saying, it happened before, it can happen again. And I guarantee it'll happen again.
Yeah, I don't remember where I was actually, but I do remember where I was the day after, which was on the phone trying to talk my marketing team out of calling every one of my customers and telling them that if they had been with us, it wouldn't have happened.
Would have stopped it, yeah.
Which was like, please don't call my customers.
Yep, agreed.
Where were you at, Dan?
Maybe I shouldn't say their name. I wasn't here.
Okay. All right. Fair
I
enough.
was at a different company. Yeah.
All right, so my illustrious co-host put in the show notes here. Dan, we didn't give you a proper opportunity to introduce yourself since you walked back on Glenn's comments. So Dan, please introduce yourself.
Yeah. So Dan Sobalski, I manage a team of SEs up here in Canada at Zscaler who are far smarter and far brighter than I am. So I'm used to walking into a room and feeling like the dumb guy, and that's the way I hire. I've been in the InfoSec space for, I don't know, 15 to 20 years. I don't really count. It's somewhere in there. It's probably like 18 if I did the math on it. And I got my start doing digital forensics and then moved into firewall work and encryption, turned into a wireless principal for a VAR, and then moved into the vendor space doing data security. And now here I am at Zscaler.
What would you say your superpower is in this
ultra
in this
sexy
field?
podcast voice?
Yeah, what is that?
That's it.
Yeah. That's all the mic. My superpower is holding really still on a Zoom call so it looks like it crashed, and then I get out of answering tough questions.
That's awesome.
There you go. All right, for our opening topic, so Dan, I saw you are a director at the Latau Photographers Guild for a period of time, so I have two photography-related questions here. First one is Nikon or Canon, and the second one is film or digital.
I see Glenn disagreed with my Canon comment. We can come back to that. Digital all the way. Honestly, I tried a film camera. What a waste of energy. I hated it so much. And that's mainly because I'm lazy when it comes to post-processing, and film requires a lot of work.
Yeah, so I know Brian and I were both Canon people, so Glenn looks like you're the minority here. So
yeah.
You're Nikon?
Yeah, I'm a Nikon guy, but I haven't taken my camera out in 2-3 years. So what used to be
The
a really
iPhone 8,
good
baby.
camera
It was killing it for you, wasn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's the best camera is the one you've got with you, right?
Well, see, this is why he likes the Nikon, right? He's like, oh, this thing's pretty close to my iPhone. Meanwhile, the rest of us know what a real camera can do.
It's not the phone.
Yeah,
it's the lens. Let's get that clear right now.
I always wanted, so when I was into photography, I had a Canon 20D. I still have it actually, the body. I always wanted the 5D Mark II, but then that was always like way out of my price range. And now that I'm a little bit older, have a little bit more money, and it's like, even though I buy, like, I think they're on the Mark III, Mark IV right now. Even if I buy that, I'm like, I have no time to shoot. Like, that's just the unfortunate part. Now that you have more money, it's like, now I got no time to shoot.
Well, not only
Yeah,
that,
you got to find the time. So I'm shooting a 5D Mark III, and I'm kind of the same. I got it, and then I really slowed down shooting as soon as I finally upgraded to it. So.
Yeah.
well, I got mine, and it was
That's cool.
It was like my phone takes better pictures now than those things, and I think it does, and it's in my pocket all the time. So if I wanted to shoot something real quick, I'll shoot it real quick, right? And
Yeah, once again, that's because you're a Nikon.
oh,
Walked right into that, my friend.
thank
Zing.
you very much. Yes,
Whoopsie.
bada boom.
All right, for our first topic, this story has been making its rounds on InfoSec Twitter and is a callback to a story Brian and I did last week about India cracking down on internet freedoms, which is they had this new law that required to log all sorts of identifying metadata for VPN users. A quite concerning story surfaced that a police department in India planted evidence on laptops of political dissidents to get them arrested on trumped-up charges. If you've watched enough Hollywood movies, you'll find one where the nefarious actor in the movie is trying to discredit their opponent by planting embarrassing or damaging material on their computer. Well, this is actually happening. Over a year ago, security researchers and the good folks over at Citizen Lab discovered a campaign to imprison activists, human rights defenders, journalists, and dissidents on charges of terrorism using phishing emails and spyware from the NSO group. These activists were found with Microsoft Word documents detailing plots to conspire with terrorist groups and to assassinate the Indian Prime Minister, which in itself is a pretty serious crime. However, the narrative that these human rights workers are actually terrorists begins to fall apart once the forensic analysis was performed on the laptops. A remote access Trojan was found and was shown to have loaded 32 files onto the laptop, including the alleged assassination plot evidence. Further, the Word document used as evidence of a terrorist plot was created with a version of Word that the alleged defendant never used or even had installed on the laptop. The email addresses of the defendants were also compromised, and the recovery email address and the phone numbers were replaced with ones from people inside the Indian Police Department. So they're not even trying to hide it at this point, but the activists are still sitting in jail over these trumped up charges. It may be time for Freedom House to change their Freedom Index on India if these facts are confirmed.
Sounds like just a huge inconvenience, kind of like a paper straw from Starbucks. Like, why? I don't even get it.
How's this different from our own political things, the things that are going on over here politically?
Oh, the files
Planting
are in
evidence
the
on your
computer.
Nice. I guess I read the article, and maybe I should say I skimmed the article. And my question is, how long did it take them to discover this? Like, where were the forensics analysts if they're already in jail? Like, that seems like something that would be part of the initial investigation. And for anybody who's actually skilled at digital forensics, they would have caught that pretty early, I would assume. So why are they doing it after the fact? I don't know.
That's actually a legit question. Maybe it's just different over there.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure how the discovery process works over there, but it could be that they discovered this and then the legal system there. Again, I don't know how the legal system works over there, that they introduced it evidence and for some reason it's still not setting them free, and that maybe somebody's finally shining a light on it and says this isn't just an isolated incident or two. This is a coordinated campaign against these people to try to lock them up.
They need to call Johnny Depp's legal crew to defend him and bring out the metadata and the photos.
There you go.
Sounds to me they'd be like, Dan, we heard you made your own sister cry at her wedding. Lock them up, boys. Like, really? Just word of mouth today, guys? All right.
Yeah, it's definitely concerning, though, like planted evidence. Like, it's not just that you arrest somebody and just, like you said, just say, well, we heard you're doing this, but no, there's actually literally planting evidence on these machines. Not even trying to cover their tracks, too. They didn't do a great job of covering their tracks.
Didn't that happen to OJ? Just kidding. Edit that out. He's guilty.
We've been doing this for a long time now. We've been planting. I mean, who didn't have a networking class that planted some kind of that planted files on someone else's computer when you were able to network through? Come on, guys, we've done this. No. Am I the only one?
You might be alone in this one.
Oh, man.
Like, Brian and I use NetSend to mess with people. We never planted evidence on someone to get them arrested.
That's a great idea, though. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah. Plant images. I can't tell you what kind of images.
That's what you get for leaving open file shares.
No, we were like Robin Hood, right, man? We were just out there trying to help out the poor. Doing good deeds.
Using NetSend to mess with people.
Yeah. I told you to put my entire high school on free lunch, right?
By doing that? By NetSend?
No, not NetSend.
You changed grades.
I changed grades.
You changed grades.
Yeah.
I don't know about free lunch.
Yeah, but I changed genders before it was cool. Free lunch. Yeah, it was all over the place, man. Gave people rare diseases. I mean, not like in person, right? They didn't touch anybody. I just said it was on their record.
All right, well, thank you for clarifying that, Brian.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm clean, everyone. I'm clean. Wow. All
right.
Back to India.
I think we said all we can on that one. I'm going to move on to topic 2 here. For our second topic, I thought we would transition right into another authoritarian government, our favorite freedom-hating China. China has a strict COVID-0 policy, and you've heard us talk on the show where China has shutdowns, which strictly shelter in place more people in China than there are even in the United States. Well, China requires mandatory contact tracing through smartphones, and you have to scan a code to get into any building or ride public transportation, And the thought is, number one, China knows where you are at all times, which is just creepy. Number two, if you test positive, they know where you were at all times and who else was there to make sure that those people quarantine too. The second reason for scanning to get onto a bus or into a building is that your phone app has a stoplight system of red, yellow, green to signify if you've had a close contact. If you scan a code and your app comes up red, that means you've been in close contact with someone who tested positive. You're persona non grata or PNG'd from anywhere except home. Well, it turns out that people who are critical of the Chinese CCP government have had their COVID app inexplicably turn red, effectively placing them under house arrest without the government actually charging them with any crime. When these activists attempted to find out why they were flagged red or to get information on the supposed close contact report, their calls went unanswered. Is China weaponizing COVID and contact tracing apps?
Yes, next topic.
We got to the bottom of that really quickly.
It's odd that this topic came up, Chris, because I was talking about this to a couple of the engineers from Israel, and they were saying the same thing that had happened in Israel, where they were doing contact tracing based off of their phone, and identifying people who had COVID and tracing them as they're going through Israel. And the discussion came up of privacy being not sharing your data and whatnot. And I found that odd. And I remember Guy's discussion when he was on with us stating that there is no semblance of privacy in Israel. And it sounds like there's no semblance of privacy in China either, right? I think I would be in an uproar if someone used my data to tell me where I've been.
It's like, I can't tell if you're serious. You actually think that privacy exists in China?
Yeah, no.
I don't think privacy exists here in the United States either. So there's that.
Well, we have a law that says we have privacy. Whether or not it exists, different thing, right?
Yeah.
So to be fair, so China does have privacy laws. But it goes the other way. That says, data on Chinese citizens cannot be shared outside the country. And it's not lost on me that China is like, no, you can't have our citizens' data, but they just vacuum up the citizen data of every other country.
So for the people that live in China, do you think they suffer from like Stockholm syndrome? Like they have no idea how bad it really is? Or is this is just so normal? They just kind of go about it like, yeah, this way, this is how it is. I have a phone on an app on my phone. I scan stuff and just go about my day. Do you think there's anywhere in there where they're like, you mean I can leave this country and just have a little bit more freedom? That'd be pretty wild.
Or how about this? Let's just go get a second phone.
I think it's a little from column A, a little from column B, right? It's yes, this is it. And if you fight the system, there's no way to fight the system, unfortunately. But I think there is, controlling the flow of information, because on Twitter and some of the other apps, there are like videos of people in lockdown, like just screaming things that are critical of the government. And they normally wouldn't let that out, but somehow somebody smuggled that out on the internet.
I was just going to say this. It's crazy to see it at a government level, but we've seen less serious, but it's still serious examples even here in North America. When I read this article, it reminded me at the time, I forget exactly when it was or who it was, but when Elon canceled somebody's Tesla order because they trash talked him on Twitter.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So it's the same kind. It's a much less serious example, but it does happen here as well. It's just not state sponsored.
I love how you lumped us into North America, right? That was adorable. Like America, Canada's Mexico. This guy. But do you think? Well, let's ask Dan, right? Like obviously, maybe we suffer from Stockholm syndrome, right? Like I think America's the greatest country in the world. I love it. I don't want to go anywhere else. Dan, how do you feel about Canada? Do we leave? Are we flirting here? Are you ready to move? Or are you living in the best country in the world?
I think I'm living in the best country in the world based on my upbringing. I think I'd probably have a different answer if I grew up in the States for sure.
Definitely Stockholm syndrome.
Based on my upbringing. Yeah. I think everybody's suffering from it. The other thing this reminds me of, by the way, the red green thing is Brazilian steakhouses. I went to one in Texas that has a little coaster with the red light, green light, and I went
More
with my
meat,
boss,
please.
and he kept turning my red light to green light, and I've never had a meat hangover so bad.
You don't have a Brazilian steakhouse in Canada? Come on, man, Dan.
We do, but I just went to the one in Texas because
Okay,
why not?
Work was paying for it, wasn't it, Dan?
Exactly.
Yeah, baby. All right, so what? Let me
pineapple. So the key is eat the pineapple at the end. The pineapple is acidic. It'll help you digest.
See, I didn't do that. And he also sat me down and said, because I'm paying for it, I don't want to catch you at the salad bar, and you have to have dessert. So I did all the things right. But yeah.
Bro, I got roasted for eating at the salad bar. I'd never been to one. So we sat down and like, salad bar over there. I was like, all right, grab a salad. And the customer is like, just like he's pinching his eyes like this dude.
Rookie.
And then, you know how they come by and they ask you if you want any pepper? Right? You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
Like some fresh ground pepper. I'm like, no thanks.
The gigantic thing that's like 6 feet long.
So homeboy, his name is Dirk, by the way. Homeboy, the customer, he's like, yeah. He's like, I'll take some of that. And like, he just has an empty plate. They haven't even begin serving the meat yet. And he's like, I'll tell you when to stop. So there's like an uncomfortable silence of just the churning of this pepper for like 7 minutes, maybe. Like he just had a huge portion of pepper. And then as the meat would come through, he would just like take it and then dip it into the pepper and then eat it. I'm like, man, homie really likes his pepper. I had no idea. So
He likes it spicy. I was thinking the other alternative is he's going to get 7 minutes worth of pepper. He pulled out like a Ziploc bag. He's like, I'm going to take this home and use it in my cooking.
Well, that's what you would have done, Chris. We know how you roll.
That's good pepper.
You got me.
He refills his ketchup with ketchup packets from McDonald's.
Boy, you take someone out of Arizona and you take him to a Brazilian steakhouse, and then he just goes crazy.
Yeah. He gets salad bar.
Yeah, I know.
He gets salad bar at a steakhouse.
Yeah. Oh, now I know better. I would never make that same snafu.
Yeah, if we're going to Brazilian steakhouse and I'm taking my kids, I don't feed them the whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get your money's worth.
I wouldn't even take them. Period. Like
What?
Yeah. No, they.
Oh
like,
man, no.
My daughter, like, I love making ribeyes, and then one day, she was trying to eat my ribeye with a freaking ketchup. And I was like, never again.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This is almost as bad as getting salad barred, Brian.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Wow.
so Dan, what did you think of the Brazilian steakhouse? Like, would you go again? Would you spend your own money there?
Yeah, I think it's for me once every couple of years I could go because I want to try everything, but the meat hangover is a real thing. It's I was woke up in the middle of the night with the cold sweats. I was praying. It was
The meat sweats.
Dude, that's every
horrible.
night for me. That's not normal.
Do you have
The meat sweats every night.
do you have a strategy? Do you try any of the exotic meats?
Oh, my strategy was just yes. I didn't know there was another strategy.
Well, I just
Hook it up.
I've got people that go there and like, I'm not having the chicken. I'm not having the pork. Don't give me sausage. I just want beef, right?
Only the expensive cuts, right?
Yeah, only
Get your
expensive
money's
cuts.
worth.
But I do have to admit, I do like, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but have you ever guys had the chicken hearts at a Brazilian steakhouse?
No, but I will.
No,
It's pretty
I've
dang
had
good.
them. I don't care for them.
What?
I can at least say I tried it.
Eat
The
it like
other
chicken
Asian
nuggets,
guy
baby.
on this show tells me that he doesn't like chicken hearts. Come on, man,
I
Chris.
don't eat chicken hearts. I don't eat gizzards. I don't eat chicken feet.
Chris is Asian.
Ah,
No.
Oh my god! So we were out to dinner at Zenith Live, and you got to know your audience, but whatever. And so the guy came over, and like it was like a small room in this huge steakhouse, and he's going over the menu. And he's like, "Are there any allergies?" And I just said kittens, and yeah, it wasn't as funny as I thought it was. He's like, "We don't serve kittens here." I'm like, "No, I know you didn't. You just asked if I had any allergies, man."
well, thank God because I forgot my EpiPen. Right?
So again, under what circumstance did you discover you had a kitten allergy?
You really want to know?
No, I'm like that's probably what the waiter that took you way too seriously was thinking.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm like, because I just touched a cat and then I sneezed. That's how I know. But didn't eat it.
Good deal. All right, for our third topic, our friends at Cloudflare, and we do mean that we have literal friends who work at Cloudflare, so shout out to you, John. They have one positive and one negative story for this week's podcast. The first story I'm actually proud of because I was ahead of this one. Around 1 a.m. one night, I started sending messages to our group chat, and you heard it first from me. I think there's an internet outage. So our corporate website wasn't working, Substack wasn't working, Discord was down, and much of the internet was unavailable. The irony is that Down Detector is also hosted on Cloudflare, so you couldn't even see if it was just me or the entire internet. And I also bet my next commission check that the problem would be related to BGP. Well, the next morning, we all awoke to news that Cloudflare, one of the world's largest CDNs and DDoS protection platforms, had an outage, which resulted in much of the internet being unavailable. Surprisingly, absolutely no one the problem was related to BGP. I did not deep dive into what caused the BGP routing issue. I just felt vindicated that my initial gut feeling was correct.
So it was 1 o'clock in the morning and you were on the internet and the website you were looking at was a corporate one in Substack. I'm not smelling what you're cooking, bro. I think you might have been up to something else. He's turning red.
You don't work at 1 a.m. like everybody else?
I'm fast asleep, brother.
So yeah, so our corporate website, and then I was trying to get access to one of our corporate blogs, and then Substack is a newsletter feed that a lot of people use. So I was trying to
is what you really meant to say.
Adult themed, as in cybersecurity, then sure.
So, what made you feel strongly enough to bet that it was a BGP problem?
Just because it always is.
Yeah, when it's that
it always is.
History.
Yeah.
Not trying to reinvent the wheel here. So
yeah.
I mean, yes, you did bet your next commission check, but I also know that you haven't sold anything in like 2 years. So like, there's that. Like, what were you really putting up? I'm just kidding, man. I love you. No, I was with you, man. I thought BGP for sure. Anytime it's that spread out, like you just know something is terrible was going on.
Yeah, like when that global Facebook outage was going on for 8 hours, everyone's like, BGP. It's got to be BGP. It's always BGP. Or YouTube went down for a couple hours, like, BGP. It's got to be BGP. And sure enough, BGP.
So, off the top of your dome, can you think of any other BGP ones? I was looking for it the other day. I think, didn't IBM have like a really big one as well?
I don't know if that anything recently. The Facebook one, for sure, because that's fresh in everyone's mind.
And then
YouTube, I think, was Pakistan or Egypt. One of those authoritarian governments tried to take down YouTube, but they accidentally took it down for the entire world.
CenturyLink.
Our Syria story, our Syria story didn't pan out. They did not take down the entire internet when they shut down just their internet. So our bet there was wrong. But just look up BGP outage, and you'll get hundreds, if not thousands, of hits on that.
True. Rostelcom. They inject huge portions of the internet and route it over there, I think. Could be wrong.
Yep. Yeah, the entire internet was going through like one router somewhere in some poor ISP. I think Verizon did that at one point. They injected a route, and every Verizon customer's traffic was going through a single router in Atlanta.
That router was like, why me? It hurts when I IP. What's the second story, Chris? I'm dying to know. What was the good? Or was that the good?
So the good... No, that was the bad story. So the good side is the second story for which Cloudflare should be applauded for is they stopped the world's largest DDoS attack on record, clocking in at 26 million, so 26 million requests per second. The previous record was 17.2 million requests per second about a year ago, actually, in July 2021. The targeted website was not identified other than stating it was under Cloudflare's DDoS protection. In addition to being almost 50% larger than the largest attack on record, this attack was launched from just 5,067 devices. And this attack did not originate from compromised IoT devices like many other DDoS attacks, but from cloud service providers. So that means someone paid to host some of these beefy servers to launch an HTTPS-based DDoS attack, not your typical UDP amplification attack. As our listeners may know, HTTPS is a computationally expensive operation since it's TCP-based and requires the TLS handshake. That means the attackers cannot spoof the source IP like they can with the UDP-based DDoS attack.
Did they go into it as far as like the mitigation? Did they start doing SYN cookies? Did they just start black holing routes, those 5,000 IPs? Did you talk about any classification on that?
I don't know if they go into detail on how they stop it. That might be part of their secret sauce. But
Yeah, I didn't see
Needless
anything
to
on
say-
how they stopped it.
Yeah, I think it's more of they might have thrown in like a CAPTCHA. They might have thrown in something to prevent the automated attacking of it, but it did peak at quite high.
But even with CAPTCHA, right? There's still some part of your infrastructure that's having to deal with the 26 million requests per second. So you would think that you would at least try to figure out who the bad people are, and then like do an IP no route further up the stream.
Yeah, so that would have impacted Cloudflare's infrastructure. So Cloudflare is massively scaled to handle this 26 million requests per second, but any individual customer, no. But the entire Cloudflare DDoS protection, probably, and that's probably how they were able to mitigate it.
Good for them. They put out great content, man. Anytime they have blog articles, it's fascinating.
So what does it cost to host some BSV servers? Like thousands of dollars, hundreds of $1,000s?
Check your expense account. I'm sure it was you that was compromised.
Well, the good thing is they didn't have to be online very long. Like you spin it up, you run this script, like it could be up and down in an hour. Like it's
Okay.
it's non-zero, but I think it's minimal.
Can you imagine how
Yeah,
upsetting
that's a good point. It's a good proof of concept to start essentially a DDoS arms race, right? They've proven the concept that you can be very effective and set a record with how you're doing it with computationally heavy attack. There's nothing stopping other people from copying this playbook now.
Yeah, and it was only 5,000 devices, which is relatively low. I think the previous record for 17 million requests was hundreds of thousands of IoT type devices just hammering or using amplification techniques.
So what do you want to bet like that IP list is going to get like blacklisted everywhere, and then some dude that's just trying to stand up a t-shirt website is going to get blacklisted? He's like, why can people not come here?
I think in that case, that's when like the things like CAPTCHA come in. That says, as long as you're not a bot, if you can prove you're a human, then we'll let you through.
Yeah, that's crazy. It reminds me of the old, I don't know if they're old school. You probably still can. I just haven't looked into it. But you used to be able to go on and do, ransomware as a service. There were websites for that. You could go on and rent compromised hosts. I can see them just turning it into, DDoS as a service.
There are Instagram ads now for ransomware as a service. They're like, send us $1,000 in Bitcoin and we'll write your custom ransomware for you.
I'm in the wrong business. We are in the wrong business, gentlemen.
Let me see what my Instagram ads are.
Maybe we
You heard it here first. It's the PEBCAK ransomware strain.
Either that or we need to go be SEs for the ransomware folks. Come on, guys.
There you
It's
go.
not that difficult.
There's actually an interesting story behind that one, which didn't make it into our cut this week. So I'll put it in the show next week about how ransomware crews are evolving their go-to-market strategy.
There you go.
Nice.
I
Yeah,
have,
there's a service
I have
for
ads for
everything.
Gatorade in my feed. Nothing about ransomware. Oh, and
All right,
Coors
before-
Light. Yeah, baby. The original Silver Bullet.
Silver bullet.
Yeah.
All right, before we get to our last topic, Brian requested time to tell his door open story. So, Brian, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is very important that we discuss this. Actually, it's not at all, but I thought it was funny. So I'll share it with you guys. So, I was raised to be a good kid. And you always open the door for everybody, right? Whether it's the CEO or the janitor.
Yep.
Just go about your day. You hold the door open. And even to this day, open the doors for my wife, my kids, anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're disabled or not. If I see them, I'm gonna open the door. So, other day at the gym, I'm walking out, and I make eye contact with this woman coming in, but she's a little too far away, right? If I hold the door open, it's just she was a little bit
An
closer.
awkward stage. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I was raised by nuns. We should just full send, Brian. Let's just go for it. So I begrudgingly, hold the door open. I smile hey, I got you. And homegirl is acting like she descended from heaven on her chariot of entitlement. Does not say a single thing to me. She has no headphones in. I don't have headphones in. It's clear that I waited those that 7 steps to get to the door to open or keep the door open for her. And she even like say thank you. I was so upset. I didn't even know why. I was just like, I don't understand like why you think you can do this to me. Like I'm just trying to do something nice, and this would get in trouble for doing nice things for people. So that was like, I don't know, maybe a month ago. So today I'm walking to the gym, and there she is. She's walking in at the same time. But this time, it's not that awkward, I'm going to hold it for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds, right? She is right behind me. And you guys, everybody's going to judge me. But as I opened that door and I walked in, I shut it right behind. I pulled that slow closed door. I pulled it closed, like it rattled. And she had this look of this pure hate. And I was like, that's what you get.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Around, comes around.
Yeah.
I ain't holding the door open for her. Yeah, she was like...
So there's two things that apply from this, right? It's just pure politeness, and I'm with you. I'm with you, hot dad. It's like when you open the door for someone, regardless of whether or not they're a male or a female, it's just polite. You open the door if someone's behind you. You hold the door open for them. I don't care, right? That's how I was raised. But the fact that some of these people are so entitled to not even say, "Look at you," give you a nod, say thank you. That is just ridiculous, right? So when that happens, I tell them, "You're welcome." And I look at them. I'm pausing for a look, like acknowledge me, or else I will drag you back out here and then not open the door for you again. Right?
Slam the door on you. Yeah.
But
See, this is why you're a better human being than me, Glenn. I should have done that instead of just blatantly pulling the door closed.
And then the other side of this is, let's say this is for the female, right? The opposite sex, because there's 4 males here, is where do we come off where if we open the door for someone who is a female right? Do they say, "Hey, there's women rights here," right? And how dare you open and hold that door for me? So therefore, does the niceness just go out the door because they want equality? At that point,
so that whole mansplaining, fight the patriarchy kind of thing.
Yeah,
like don't treat me like a cat,
or is it not?
Yeah.
What, like I've never had that experience. Have you guys ever like done something nice, just in general, and then have it backfire on you, like you're not treating them like an equal?
No, but
I'm
waiting. I'm waiting.
It's only a matter of time.
Yeah,
he wants to be prepared.
I do live in California, folks, so.
So I guess we'll make this our last topic of our stories of holding doors open for people. So the only time, I've occasionally had that where I hold open and someone doesn't say anything, which I just think in my head, well, that was kind of rude. The only time, other kind of odd thing I would say for that was when I went to French Canada. So I visited French Canada,
which is not where Dan's from.
No.
So I was in French Canada, and there was like a double door, so there's 2 doors that open. I would hold one door open for someone to walk through, and then this French Canadian person like went to the other door, opened the door themselves, and walked through that. And it wasn't an isolated incident. This happened like 2 or 3 times while I was visiting in French Canada. I'm like, is this a French Canada thing? Like they don't like the doors held open for them. So that one puzzled me for sure. But that was probably
I have an answer for that one, Chris. Those French Canadians, they believe in ghosts. They thought you were probably just like holding the door open for a poltergeist.
Or
there you go.
The order is you walk in on the right, you leave on the left.
No, we were both walking in. I held the door open so that they could walk in first, and then they went to the other door, opened it themselves, and then walked through it.
Did you open it in French or in English?
Yeah.
Well, English, obviously.
Yeah, that was your mistake. I do have a question on the whole door opening thing. So I guess, how do you tell when the person is too far for you to hold it? Like, is there do you count Mississippis? Is it like 3 Mississippis and you're too far? Or is it just you're eyeballing this stuff?
I would think 3 or 4 steps, but the problem that got me into hot water with Homegirl was that we made eye contact and I felt obligated. So that explained the whole, it was probably like 15 steps.
I'll be honest with you. Like, I go to Panera down the street and there's a bunch of elderly folks that walk in, and I'll hold the door open if they're across the street still, because they're using a cane. They're walking really slow. I don't mind. I'm not in a rush to go get my coffee, right? So I'll gladly hold the door open for folks like that. And they'll always say thank you, right? But some people just
Damn right they will.
heads down, just in their phone, not saying. And I love just telling them, you're welcome for like saying thank you when you didn't deserve it, right? I don't mind throwing that in their face.
Yes, I think what's the ratio of people that look up and say, "Oh, thank you," versus they just kind of grunt it off.
Like 1 out of every 50. Well,
1 out of every 50.
Well, look at me like I'm the dumb, right? So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So 2%.
Yeah, I'm gonna get bleeped for that, aren't I?
Yeah, you will.
So, Glenn, going back to your comment, like, which side of the road you're on, like right versus left.
Yeah.
When we were in Vegas last week, my wife and daughter came with us. And so we walked the strip. And I'm telling you, anybody that was on the wrong side of the road, they're about to hit the wall named Brian Deach, because I was not moving for anybody. Well, and there was a couple awkward times on the stairs and then a couple times at the airport. But, don't be nice. Be predictable.
I'm going to ask you guys this one thing, and this is because, I was at London last week. In London, they drive on the left side of the road, which is just opposite of what we do. I could not interpret if that meant that I had to walk on the left side as well. So I was lost.
Common sense would be left.
You would think,
Don't
right?
you guys agree?
You would think, but I don't know. I didn't ask.
UK listeners can fill us in.
Yeah, I'll go find out from the UK team now.
Do you guys walk on the left? Or do you guys walk on the right?
They're like, just the middle. We high five each other.
Just walk.
There you go.
Walk. Come on, Glenn.
Cheerio.
It's not difficult.
Do they shake hands with left instead of right? How do they do it?
No, it's still right.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
This is complex algebra, guys. I don't know if we can go on any further.
All right. What's not complex is that we continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week. Dad joke of the week. This week, our guest Dan is up.
All right, cool. I did bring a dad joke. So I went to the doctor after accidentally swallowing a bottle of food coloring. And he said I'll be okay, but I still died a little on the inside.
That's a Canadian joke. That's not an American joke.
Canadian father. Are you a dad, Dan?
I am, yeah.
Did you run it by the kids? You said
No,
3 dogs or 3 daughters?
2 daughters. Not 3 dogs. No dogs. 2 daughters. I didn't run it by them because they're great fans. They would have laughed at it for sure. So
Good. That's how you know you raised them right.
Nice work.
Yep. All right, to wrap things up, Glenn and Captain America finally updated their phones. NotPetya was 5 years ago. Canon for life. Police departments in India are planning fake evidence to lock up journalists. China is weaponizing contact tracing apps. Cloudflare killed most of the internet, but then they saved the internet from the world's largest DDoS attack. And holding a door open is more complicated than you think. That's all we have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find us all on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers who rated us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. For my co-hosts Brian Deach and Glenn Medina, and our guest Dan Cybulski, I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye, everyone. Why does Dan sound like he should be like a villain in 007? No? All right.
I'll take it.
Come on, Dad. You need to give us an NFT. You got to say something that's just so off the wall.
Oh, I've given a lot today. I think we're okay.